This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO for Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics and explore the topics of current interest that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Ron Summers, President of U.S.-India Business Council, and he will be discussing a very dear topic and very important topic to the United States as well as to this community, as well as India and the United States, the U.S.-India relationship. Welcome to our show. Thank you very much for coming.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate that very much. And I know you had a busy day today, but I'm glad you made it today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about USIBC. What is this mission? What is the goal? What do they do? And where is it going?
Well, the big news is that we just celebrated our 35th anniversary. So we started back in 1975. The mission is to advance U.S.-India commercial ties. We're 350 member companies. We're about 340 of the large global U.S. companies. And then lately, we've been getting a lot of the global Indian companies joining as well. So 350 member companies getting up every morning, advancing U.S.-India commercial ties.
So where are you going to go from here?
Well, the next 35 years is only blue sky. In the end, it's extraordinary what's happened. Think back where we were in 1975 in terms of the two countries. That was 1 year after India's first nuclear test. Henry Kissinger went to India at the request of President Nixon. Henry Kissinger was then the Secretary of State. He met with Indira Gandhi. It was a very icy meeting. But the one thing that he picked up in that meeting in 1974 was, my goodness, is an entrepreneurial spirit among the Indian business leaders. How do we connect them with the American business leaders? He returned from that trip. He approached the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and he said, could you host a joint business council of American business leaders and Indian business leaders? Because until and unless we tap that entrepreneurial spirit, we will never achieve the full potential of the U.S.-India partnership. Here we are 35 years later, and the partnership is flourishing.
So he planted the seed for shared interests and shared goals and for future collaboration between the two countries.
And here we are now trading, two-way trade at $40 billion in two-way trade. And last year, Indian companies invested more in the United States than American companies invested in India, about $11 billion each way. So it's quite exciting what's happening.
It really is exciting. And I'm very encouraged by this. What are opportunities for U.S. companies in India in terms of the export opportunities in India? You're talking about manufacturing, education, environment, energy, infrastructure, the list goes on and on. Since I sit on the board at the United States Export-Import Bank, and obviously the Export-Import Bank is very, very interested to facilitate the product of the U.S. products and services to India. Shed some light on this, please, Ron.
Well, for example, let's just speak for a moment about the Export-Import Bank. One of their big financings in the last 2 years
has been to India.
And particularly $400 million to support the development of the Jamnagar petroleum refinery owned by Reliance Industries. So one of the larger U.S. loans to India to support the largest refinery in the world, now owned by Reliance Industries, Mukesh Ambani. If there's a big headline, the headline is infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. India has just announced $1.7 trillion of infrastructure build-out required over the next 5 years. And we'd like to convert that challenge into an opportunity for American companies.
We're talking about the infrastructure, talking about railroad, the bridges, the transportations, the list goes on and on. Is that what we're talking about, the infrastructure?
Yes. As you know, India has 25 airports, most of which are now in upgradation. They have 12 major ports. They need to double that number. They have 20,000 of new roads and highways under RFP now, where they're soliciting investors and developers. They need 150,000 megawatts of new power stations. They're trying to develop 30,000 megawatts of new nuclear power. The list goes on, and we'd like to see more American involvement in that opportunity.
I personally like to see, as a member of the Export-Import Bank, to get involved with India's, not only in India's global power, but India's infrastructure, so we can provide the support. It'll be a great opportunity for our companies, for our nation, to get involved. There are a lot of areas that India and U.S. can collaborate. Can you shed some light? What are the areas that you're concentrating on as far as the US IBC is concerned about the collaboration between the two countries?
Well, we just mentioned the whole idea of the infrastructure.
Right. What about education, environment, energy?
Let me shift over to the technology sector.
Okay.
Because in the end, remember, is Y2K, year 2000, when really it was when the relationship in the information technology industry between the United States and India really took off. And today, when you look at the telecom industry in India, 16 million cell phones were registered last month alone. 16 million new registries for cell phones.
They don't have a landline. They mostly have a cell phone.
This is where they leapfrogged technologies and jumped ahead, even far ahead of where the United States is today in cell phone technology. And now this is going to reach in the Indian rural sector, where young people and people working out in the fields will be able to download information about crops, about weather, about medicine, about education on their cell phones. This is an exciting area of growth. The other major area of cooperation that we need to be focusing on is security, homeland security. After
both of our country has been the victim of the terrorism.
You know, remember back 9/11, 4 months later, it was on December 13th, 2001 that Indian Parliament was attacked. And then, of course, we remember just 2 years ago, the 26/11 Mumbai attack. The Americans were able to support the Indians on unscrambling some of the cell phones and GPS data to identify exactly where the perpetrators had originated from. Those kinds of technology collaborations, given that we are both the world's 2 largest free market democracies, I think homeland security and counterterrorism, very important areas for collaboration.
Great areas.
Absolutely necessary for our survival. And in the end, that brings you towards defense cooperation. India is on a massive expansion of its existing military. It is the 2nd largest military in uniform in the world.
I did not know that.
It is the largest military in the world.
Is it larger than China?
It is 2nd to China in terms of manpower, but it's the largest civilian-controlled military in the world. Remember, India is a democracy. So it's controlled by a civilian authority. And India is this year outfitting its Air Force with brand new fighter aircraft. And we hope that Lockheed Martin and Boeing Aircraft will have a chance at that bid. They're going to be competing against the French. They're going to be competing against the Russians and the Swedes. And we hope that the Americans come out on top, because that's going to be U.S. jobs created here on American soil. And it's going to deepen the collaboration between our 2 countries.
And that's what we're looking for.
Well, in the end, when you sell a piece of equipment like an airplane to the Indian Air Force, it isn't just a one-off sale. It's really a 2 generations of maintenance, of training, of a deepening of the partnership and the trust between the 2 democracies. Very important as a foundation aspect of the relationship.
In addition to loving food from India, I also love the diversity of India, the culture, the history, the heritage.
You know, when I think of the democracy of India, think of the pluralism of the country. The previous president was a Muslim.
Yes.
The current president is a lady. The current prime minister is a minority Sikh. Sonia Gandhi, the leader of the Congress Party, is a Roman Catholic. Her 2 children are Hindu, Priyanka and Rahul.
Can you believe that?
This is a snapshot of pluralistic democracy in motion, and it's quite exciting.
As Ron Reagan once said about America, a shining city upon a hill, and that's how I consider India, as a shining city upon a hill.
It is a great beacon of hope, particularly in that region of the world.
No question about that. There are about 300 million emerging middle class in India. Therefore, India will be a great market for American goods, product, and services. In all areas, we have not tapped upon the agriculture products. Mm-hmm. And can you comment on something on how do we get hold of the 300 million middle class people and provide the services and goods and facilitate the relationship between India and United States so that they can be able to get the services from the United States?
You know, what's remarkable is you mentioned the number 300 million middle class.
Which is about the population of the United States.
That is larger than the entire population of the United States.
States.
So it's an extraordinarily important market for our companies, and it's recognized. This is a purchasing parity of $30,000 per year for that 300 million. So that's a very healthy middle class. As you know, it's growing by the day. India is buying our best aircraft. They're buying our Caterpillar front-end loaders. They're buying our goods and services. They're buying our engineering services to make the Delhi Metro. They're buying our construction services, Bechtel, to complete the Jamnagar refinery. They're buying our engineering services to upgrade the Bombay airport. In other words, there is tremendous collaboration between that new emerging middle class and the United States. We want to keep that happening.
You want to continue to grow and prosper together.
Yeah, this is a two-way street.
It is a two-way street.
As I mentioned in my opening comments, last year Indian companies invested more in the United States, buying up American companies at a good price because we were in our deepest, darkest hour. And then American companies investing in India, about 11 billion both ways. We want to see that continue because in the end, there's a large diaspora here. The Indian American population in the United States is about 2 million. They've become totally and completely politically integrated and very much a part of the political structure of the United States. They've become a wonderful bridge between the two countries. And so this is an opportunity that is going to shape the economic destiny of the 21st century.
Very well said. So you're pretty hot on the Indian American community who can build the bridges of understanding and cooperations between the two great nations.
Can I give you an example?
Please.
I think the civil nuclear...
well, that's what I was going to ask you.
The
U.S.-India Nuclear Pact.
The civil nuclear agreement that happened, that was approved finally by the United States Congress in 2008, I think fondly back to the fact that that was 85-12 in favor in the Senate, 259-68 in the United States Congress. I don't think there's been such a bipartisan issue in favor of anything since that day. And why was that? Because the business community joined, most importantly, with the Indian American community and went up to Capitol Hill and convinced our congressmen that the relationship between the United States and India was so important. There, the Indian American community
played a very important role.
They carried all the heavy water and they helped make it happen.
Oh, that's a lot of credit to U.S. As Indian American community. Everyone thinks of Indian American community in this country as a model of immigrants, and especially the first generations. There are people who are running in the Congress, they're running some governor's race, and so on and so forth. Why have they done so well, Indian American community in this country?
You know what I think, it's quite interesting.
Hard work.
Hard work.
I understand, and there's the culture.
Most came over.
As an immigrant, they were poor.
And they worked
they aim high.
In the end, I think part of the secret is the fact our basic values, our shared values, the respect for family, the fact that in India you have a joint family, the fact that the elderly are respected, the fact that the mother in the home is dearly respected. And they came here to the United States and they didn't lose their values. They didn't assimilate and try to lose it. They integrated into our political setup without losing their beautiful cultural values. And this is what makes them such a great, great contribution to our democracy.
They have contributed a lot to our country. And as a matter of fact, I am an Indian American, and I feel very fortunate and blessed what we have been able to accomplish in the United States. And it is time for all of us, including Indian Americans, to give back to our community, to our country, because we are very fortunate to be here.
And you can say that because you are an American of Indian origin. I've had the privilege of working closely with Indra Nooyi, the chairman of PepsiCo.
She's a great woman.
A great woman that was born and educated in India, that came across, that had the benefit of some of our best education here in the United States. Now she's running one of America's most important companies. And look how she's contributing now to both societies and to the global society.
There's no question. She is contributing to the global society. Can you shed some light on the outsourcing, which is to some people in this country not that great in terms of our relationship with India, because they think we're going to outsource all job to back to India.
When you're having a double-digit unemployment like we do here in the United States, in many states,
and recessions and so on and so forth,
the sensitivity is jobs going overseas. But the reality is, no longer is it the back office. India is no longer the back office of the United States. I would argue India is helping America remain competitive in the global marketplace. Why is that? Because innovation and value addition with the link up between our industries is happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In other words, when we go to bed, the Indian equivalent on the other side, the counterpart is able to wake up and add value to do the refined engineering, and then we wake up, they go to sleep, and it's a 24-hour cycle, 7 days a week. So it is no longer a one-way street, it is a two-way street. And I just want to remind everyone, all your viewers, the fact that Bharti Airtel just awarded IBM a $2 billion contract. So there's outsourcing going from India to the United States. So in other words, two-way trade between the United States and India is about equal, 20 billion to 20 billion.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming to our show. I really appreciate it very much. I enjoyed talking with you.
Bahut dhanyavad.
Yes. That's our show. Until next time, this is Frank Islam, FI Investment Group, wishing you a great week.